The Empire's unchallenged rule. For thousands of years, the Galactic Empire ruled over the stars, its dominion stretching across countless systems. Planets fell under its banner, their people reduced to obedient servants or wiped out if they dared to resist. The Empire's fleet, massive and unyielding, was a symbol of absolute power. No force in the galaxy dared challenge their might. Until now. The Galactic High Command was in session aboard Invictus, the largest and most advanced command ship ever constructed. Seated at the grand oval table, lined with glowing data panels, were the Empire's top leaders, each clad in ornate uniforms symbolizing their rank and authority. At the center sat Supreme Commander Vale, his presence as cold and sharp as the void outside the ship. Another successful conquest, General Nara announced, her voice brimming with pride. The Fenar have fallen. Their worlds are ours. The room erupted in applause, a thunderous sound that reflected their arrogance. To them, it was just another day of victory. But amidst the celebration, a young officer rushed into the chamber, his face pale. "Commander Vale," he stammered, "we've intercepted an unusual signal from Sector 8-34. The room fell silent. Vale turned his icy gaze toward the officer. "Explain." The officer activated the central display. A holographic image of a small blue and green planet appeared. Earth. The signal originates from this planet. It's not a plea for surrender. It's a challenge. A murmur rippled through the room. A challenge. From such a primitive world. Vale raised an eyebrow. What sort of challenge? The officer hesitated before playing the transmission. A calm, determined human voice echoed through the chamber. "To the Galactic Empire, this is Earth. We have watched your conquests, your oppression, and your arrogance. We will not submit. If you come for us, you will find more than resistance. You will find your reckoning." The chamber erupted in laughter. General Nara smirked, leaning back in her chair. "Primitive creatures. Do they even have spacefaring ships? This is nothing more than noise." But not everyone was laughing. Admiral Terran, a veteran of countless campaigns, leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "I've seen this before," he said quietly, his voice cutting through the mockery. "A small species, defiant and underestimated. It always costs more than it should." Vale waved a hand dismissively. "Admiral, we have crushed species far more advanced than these. Humans. Their defiance will serve as an example to others." "Perhaps," Terran replied, his tone cautious, "but humans are not like the others." Vale stood, his imposing figure commanding attention. "Enough speculation. We will send a scouting fleet to this Earth. Their defiance will be their undoing. Let us see how long their bravado lasts when faced with the might of the Empire." The leaders nodded, their confidence unwavering. To them, humanity was just another insignificant obstacle in their path. Meanwhile, far from the grand chambers of the Invictus, Earth prepared for what it knew was inevitable. Deep beneath the surface, in secret bunkers and hidden facilities, the brightest minds of humanity worked tirelessly. Their faces bore the weight of the challenge ahead, but their resolve was unshakable. "We don't have the numbers or the technology to match them," General Marcus said, his voice grim. "But we have something they don't." "Ingenuity," replied Dr. Ilara Khan, the leading scientist, "and the element of surprise." As they spoke, screens displayed images of advanced weaponry and unconventional strategies being developed in secret. Humanity's hope lay not in brute strength, but in the power of innovation. Back aboard the Invictus, the scouting fleet was already en route to Earth, their confidence bolstered by centuries of unchallenged dominance. The soldiers laughed as they reviewed the data on humanity, mocking their outdated technology and seemingly fragile bodies. But as the fleet approached Earth, a sense of unease began to settle. Scanners picked up strange energy readings, patterns they couldn't identify. And then, in the vast darkness of space, lights flickered to life. Thousands of them. What is that?" A junior officer stammered, his voice shaking. From the shadows of Earth's orbit, a hidden defense grid activated, its weapons locking onto the approaching fleet. Humanity had been waiting. The first shot fired was not from the Empire's ships, but from Earth. A single precise beam of energy struck the lead ship, splitting it in two. Alarms blared as the remaining ships scrambled to respond, their once overwhelming confidence now replaced with panic. Back on the Invictus, reports of the ambush flooded in. Commander Vale's expression hardened. "It seems these humans are more troublesome than we anticipated," he muttered. Admiral Terran, watching from the sidelines, allowed himself a grim smile. "I warned you," he said under his breath. The Empire had taken its first step into a conflict it didn't understand. Humanity had drawn its line in the sand, and the galaxy was about to witness what happened when the underestimated fought back. The first clash. The Galactic Empire's scouting fleet, a force deemed invincible by its commanders, now faced the unthinkable, resistance from a backwater planet. Earth, with its seemingly primitive technology and audacious defiance, had revealed its teeth. On board the lead Imperial destroyer, chaos reigned. Officers shouted orders, crews scrambled to recalibrate shields, and the hum of damaged engines filled the air. Admiral Vorak, leading the scouting mission, clenched his fists as another report came through. "Admiral, we've lost the Aegis and Striker. Their defense grid is more advanced than anticipated." Vorak slammed his hand against the console. "Advanced? It's impossible. They barely have interstellar capability." "Sir, their weapons." "Enough," Vorak barked. "Launch the interceptors. Overwhelm them with numbers." From the Imperial fleet, swarms of sleek, black fighters poured out, their engines roaring as they streaked toward the source of Earth's firepower. The plan was simple: disable the grid, land forces, and end this ridiculous resistance. But the humans were ready. High above Earth, hidden within its orbital defense stations, Captain Rachel Monroe monitored the battlefield. Her sharp eyes scanned the incoming swarm of Imperial fighters on her tactical display. "Here they come," she muttered. "They think they can outnumber us." Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Javier Chen, smirked. "They always do." Rachel activated her comms. "All stations, deploy countermeasures, and bring the Raptors online." The Raptors, Earth's first-generation space superiority fighters, were experimental, untested in open combat, but humanity had no choice. From concealed hangars, the sleek, angular ships emerged, their adaptive camouflage peeling away to reveal black hulls bristling with weaponry. As the Raptors engaged, the first clash between Earth and the Empire began. The Imperial pilots were skilled, trained in simulated battles against some of the galaxy's most dangerous species. But they weren't prepared for the unpredictable tactics of human pilots. The Raptors darted and weaved through the swarm, their movements erratic and unconventional. These fighters, they're too agile. An Imperial pilot cried out before his ship exploded in a flash of light. On board the Imperial destroyer, Admiral Vorak watched the battle unfold with growing disbelief. "How are they holding us back?" he growled. "Their fleet is minuscule. They're using guerrilla tactics," one of his strategists replied. "They're exploiting our formation, picking off our fighters one by one." Vorak's eyes narrowed. "Then we change tactics. Deploy the orbital bombardment platforms. Let's see how their planet fares under direct fire." Back on Earth, alarms blared as the massive Imperial platforms moved into position. These were weapons designed to level continents with a single shot. Humanity's orbital defense grid was impressive, but it wasn't designed to stop something this massive. In the underground command bunker, General Marcus paced nervously. "We can't stop those platforms from here," he said, turning to Dr. Ilara Khan. "If they fire, billions will die." Ilara, calm despite the chaos, tapped on her tablet. "We have a contingency plan." Marcus frowned. "The prototype? It's not ready." "It doesn't have to be perfect," Ilara replied. "It just has to work." She turned to a group of engineers. Deploy the thunderclap. Now, the thunderclap was Earth's greatest secret, a massive railgun built into a hidden moon base. It was experimental, untested, and required immense power to operate. But it was humanity's only chance. As the orbital platforms charged their weapons, a single piercing beam of light shot out from the moon, striking one of the platforms directly in its core. The explosion was blinding, scattering debris across the void. On board the Invictus, Supreme Commander Vale received the report with icy calm. They destroyed a platform. "Yes, Commander," an officer replied, fear in his voice. "Their weapon. It's beyond anything we anticipated." Val's expression darkened. "This changes nothing. Humanity will be crushed. Send reinforcements immediately." Back in Earth's orbit, the remaining platforms began to retreat, their commanders unwilling to risk annihilation. The first clash was over, and humanity had won. But on Earth, General Marcus knew the truth. "This is just the beginning," he said grimly. "The Empire won't stop until we're dust." Ilara nodded, her gaze steely. "Then we'd better make sure they never get the chance." The battle had been a victory, but the war was far from over. Humanity's defiance had drawn the Empire's full attention, and the galaxy's greatest force was now bearing down on a small blue planet. The Empire's retaliation. The defeat in Earth's orbit sent ripples through the Galactic Empire. For centuries, no species had dared to challenge their might, let alone succeed. News of humanity's surprising victory reached the Imperial core worlds, sparking outrage among the ruling elite. Supreme Commander Vale stood in the center of the Grand War Chamber aboard the Eclipse, the Empire's most formidable dreadnought. Around him, holographic displays projected Earth's defenses, the wreckage of the destroyed orbital platform, and detailed reports from the retreating fleet. "Unacceptable," Vale said, his voice low but charged with fury. "A backwater species dares to humiliate the Empire." Advisors exchanged nervous glances. One stepped forward cautiously. "Commander, the humans are resourceful. Their technology appears primitive, but they've adapted it with surprising effectiveness. We underestimated them." Val's piercing gaze silenced the advisor. "Underestimation is a failure, and failure will not be tolerated." He gestured to the displays. "Prepare the Armada Ultima. Deploy shock troops, planetary bombardments, and our advanced warships. Humanity will understand the price of defiance." The chamber was silent as officers rushed to execute his commands. Meanwhile, on Earth, humanity prepared for the inevitable. In the underground command bunker, General Marcus stood before a large map of Earth's defenses. The victory in orbit had been celebrated briefly, but everyone knew it was only the prelude to something far worse. "We've bought time, but not much," Marcus said, addressing his team. "The Empire won't take this loss lightly. We need to be ready for their full-scale retaliation." Captain Rachel Monroe, fresh from the orbital skirmish, stepped forward. "Our pilots are ready, sir, but we can't win this with just fighters and orbital defenses. If they bring their dreadnoughts, we're outmatched." Dr. Ilara Khan nodded, "which is why we need to finish activating the Sentinel Array." The room fell silent. The Sentinel Array was a series of planetary shields and hidden weapon systems, an ambitious project that had been in development for decades. It was Earth's last line of defense, but it was incomplete. "How long do we have?" Marcus asked. Ilara glanced at her tablet. "If the Empire deploys immediately, we have days, maybe less, but we can accelerate the activation process, with some risks." "Do it," Marcus said firmly. "We don't have a choice." As humanity scrambled to prepare, the Armada Ultima emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. The sheer size of the fleet was staggering. Dozens of dreadnoughts, thousands of fighters, and massive carriers bristling with advanced weaponry. Supreme Commander Vale stood on the bridge of the Eclipse, watching Earth through the observation window. "This planet will burn," he said coldly. "Begin the approach. Show them no mercy." The fleet advanced, the black void of space filled with the gleam of Imperial warships. Humanity's sensors picked up the movement immediately, alarms blaring across the command bunker. "They're here," Rachel said, her voice tight. Marcus nodded grimly. "This is it. All units to battle stations. We hold the line, no matter the cost." As Earth's orbital defenses came online, a tense silence filled the bunker. Everyone knew what was at stake. Humanity had never faced an enemy of this magnitude, but surrender was not an option. The first wave of Imperial ships engaged the orbital defense grid, their lasers and plasma cannons lighting up the dark void. Earth's hidden stations responded, firing kinetic projectiles and missile salvos that streaked through space. Despite the overwhelming odds, the humans fought with ferocity. The Raptors danced through the chaos, taking out Imperial fighters in daring maneuvers. Earth's weapons, though limited in number, were devastatingly accurate, targeting weak points in the Imperial ships. On the Eclipse, Vale observed the battle with growing frustration. "Their resistance is admirable, but futile. Deploy the Hammer of Judgment." The Hammer of Judgment was the Empire's most feared weapon, a massive energy cannon capable of obliterating entire cities in a single blast. As the weapon powered up, its ominous glow bathed the Imperial fleet. On Earth, sensors picked up the energy surge. Ilara's eyes widened as she realized what was happening. "They're targeting the surface," she shouted. "We can't stop that thing with what we have," Rachel said. Ilara hesitated for a moment, then made a decision. "We're activating the Sentinel array." "It's not ready," Marcus protested. "If we don't, millions will die," Ilara replied firmly. As the Hammer of Judgment prepared to fire, the Sentinel array roared to life. Massive energy fields enveloped Earth, creating an impenetrable barrier that shimmered with light. The Empire's weapon fired, its devastating beam hurtling toward the planet, only to be absorbed by the shield. Val's eyes narrowed. Impossible. On Earth, cheers erupted as the shield held. Marcus turned to Ilara, a rare smile on his face. "You did it." Ilara shook her head. "This is only the beginning. The Sentinel array can protect us for now, but we still need a way to take the fight to them." Rachel nodded. "Then let's give them a reason to fear humanity." The battle had reached a critical turning point. The Empire's retaliation was fierce, but humanity had shown it would not be broken. As the Armada Ultima regrouped, both sides prepared for the next phase of the conflict. Humanity strikes back. The Imperial fleet circled like predators around Earth, their weapons gleaming in the void of space. But something had changed. The humans had not only survived, they had struck a blow against the most feared power in the galaxy. On the bridge of the Eclipse, Supreme Commander Vale clenched his fists. The Sentinel array had turned the tide of battle in an unexpected way, shielding Earth from the devastating power of the Empire's ultimate weapon. "This resistance is unacceptable," Vale growled. "They will not humiliate the Empire again. Deploy the Alpha Strike squadrons. Overwhelm them." His officers scrambled to relay the orders, but there was tension in the air. Humanity had proven to be more resilient than expected, and doubts began to creep into the minds of even the staunchest Imperial loyalists. On Earth, the command bunker buzzed with activity. General Marcus stood at the center, his voice calm but commanding. "Status on the fleet?" he asked. Rachel Monroe, still wearing her pilot's jumpsuit, stepped forward. "They're regrouping, sir. More fighters and destroyers are advancing toward the orbital stations." Ilara Khan's voice came from a nearby console. "The Sentinel array is holding, but it's not designed for continuous bombardment. We need to find a way to push them back, or this shield will fail." Marcus nodded. "It's time for Plan Omega." A hush fell over the room. Everyone knew what Plan Omega entailed. It was a desperate gamble, a bold move that could either cripple the Imperial fleet or spell doom for Earth. "You're serious?" Rachel asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Marcus's expression hardened. "We've been preparing for this moment for decades. If the Empire thinks they can bully us, let's show them what humanity is truly capable of. Far above the planet, hidden among the asteroid fields of Earth's outer orbit, humanity's secret weapon stirred to life. The Vanguard, a massive warship cloaked in experimental stealth technology, activated its engines. It had been Earth's best-kept secret, a project so classified that only a handful of individuals even knew of its existence. The ship's captain, Adrian Cole, stood on the bridge, his crew ready and waiting. "We've been hiding in the shadows long enough," Cole said, his voice steady. "Let's show the Empire why they should fear humanity." The Vanguard moved silently through space, its cloaking systems rendering it invisible to Imperial sensors. On board, advanced railguns and missile systems prepared for deployment. "Target their carriers first," Cole ordered. "Cut off their ability to launch reinforcements." The Empire's Alpha Strike squadrons descended on Earth's orbital defenses, their numbers overwhelming. For every Imperial fighter destroyed, more took its place. The orbital stations struggled to keep up, their ammunition supplies running dangerously low. "This is bad," Rachel muttered as she piloted her Raptor through the chaos. "We can't hold them off forever." Suddenly, a new signal appeared on her radar. It wasn't Imperial, and it was massive. "What the hell is that?" The Vanguard decloaked in the middle of the Imperial fleet, its appearance a thunderclap in the stillness of space. For a moment, both sides froze, stunned by the emergence of the colossal warship. Then the Vanguard fired. Massive railgun rounds tore through the nearest Imperial carrier, splitting it in half. Missiles streaked toward the destroyers, detonating with pinpoint accuracy. The Vanguard moved with precision, each strike designed to maximize damage. On the Eclipse, Val's expression darkened. "Impossible," he muttered. "How did they build that without our knowledge?" The Imperial officers looked to him for guidance. "Commander, orders." Val gritted his teeth. "Concentrate all fire on that ship. If it falls, their morale will crumble." The Vanguard was a juggernaut, but it was still one ship against an entire fleet. The Imperial warships redirected their fire, bombarding the human vessel with relentless force. "Shields at 70%. One of Cole's officers shouted. "Hold steady," Cole replied. "We're not going down without a fight." Meanwhile, Rachel and her squadron seized the opportunity. With the Imperial fleet distracted, they launched a daring counterattack, targeting the engines of key destroyers and crippling their mobility. "Keep them off the Vanguard," Rachel shouted. On Earth, Ilara worked frantically at her console. "I can reroute power from the Sentinel array to boost the Vanguard's shields," she said. "But that leaves the planet vulnerable," Marcus pointed out. Ilara looked at him, determination in her eyes. "If we don't protect the Vanguard, none of this matters. Trust me." Marcus hesitated, then nodded. "Do it." As the battle raged on, the Vanguard unleashed its full arsenal, devastating the Imperial fleet. One by one, their warships faltered, unable to withstand the ferocity of humanity's counteroffensive. But the fight was far from over. The Eclipse loomed in the distance, its weapons charging for a decisive strike. Vale was determined to end the battle, no matter the cost. "Prepare the doom cannon," he ordered. On the bridge of the Vanguard, Cole watched as the Eclipse powered up. "That's not good," he said grimly. "What do we do, Captain?" one of his officers asked. Cole smiled faintly. "We take the fight to them." The turning tide. The Eclipse, flagship of the Galactic Empire, was a monument to Imperial dominance. Its sheer size dwarfed the Vanguard, and its arsenal was unmatched in the galaxy. Now, its most destructive weapon, the doom cannon, prepared to fire. On board the Vanguard, Captain Adrian Cole stood at the helm, his gaze fixed on the looming threat. "Shields at 50%, reported his tactical officer. "We won't survive a direct hit from that thing." Cole clenched his fists. "We won't need to. Patch me through to Earth Command." In Earth's underground command bunker, General Marcus answered the call, his face set in grim determination. "We see it, Captain," Marcus said. The Eclipse is preparing to fire. What's your plan? Cole's voice was steady. We're going to need every bit of power you can spare. Divert everything from the Sentinel array to boost our weapons. Alara Khan, the chief engineer, interjected. That'll leave Earth completely defenseless. If the Vanguard fails. It won't, Cole interrupted. This is our chance to end this war. We need to hit them before they hit us. Marcus exchanged a glance with Alara, then nodded. Do it. Humanity's survival depends on you, Captain. As the power rerouted from the Sentinel array, the Vanguard systems surged with newfound energy. Its railguns glowed brighter, and its missile bays hummed with renewed vigor. Target the Eclipse's main weapon, Cole ordered. We're taking that cannon offline. The crew worked frantically, locking onto the Eclipse's vulnerable points. Meanwhile, Rachel Monroe and her squadron of Raptors continued their diversionary attacks, keeping the Imperial fleet occupied. Keep up the pressure, Rachel shouted into her comms. They can't fire the cannon if we keep them off balance. On the Eclipse, Supreme Commander Vale sneered at the audacity of the humans. Do they think their resistance matters? He muttered. Charge the Doom Cannon to full power. Wipe them from existence. His officers worked feverishly, but a sense of unease permeated the bridge. The humans had defied all expectations, and the Vanguard was proving to be more than a match for the Empire's fleet. Suddenly, alarms blared. Incoming fire from the human vessel. One officer reported. Brace for impact. Vale shouted. The Vanguard unleashed a barrage of precision strikes. Railgun rounds tore through the Eclipse's outer hull, targeting the conduits that powered the Doom Cannon. Explosions rippled across the massive ship as systems shorted out, and the cannon's charge dissipated. Direct hit on their weapon systems. Cole's tactical officer exclaimed. Cole allowed himself a small smile. Good. Now let's finish this. But the battle was far from over. The Eclipse still had its conventional arsenal, and its smaller ships regrouped to defend their flagship. Captain, the Imperials are focusing all fire on us, the tactical officer warned. Cole's expression hardened. We'll hold the line. Humanity isn't backing down. Back on Earth, Marcus watched the battle unfold on the holodisplays. They're throwing everything they have at the Vanguard, Alara said, her tone grim. Marcus nodded. That's exactly what we need. Prepare the Arkham Protocol. Alara's eyes widened. You're serious? That's necessary, Marcus interrupted. It's time we showed the Empire the true extent of our ingenuity. The Arkham Protocol was Earth's final contingency, a planetary missile system hidden beneath the surface. As the Vanguard held the line, the missiles launched in unison, streaking toward the Imperial fleet. Incoming signatures detected. Val's tactical officer shouted. What now? Val barked, his patience wearing thin. The missiles struck with devastating precision, crippling destroyers and forcing the Imperial fleet to scatter. For the first time, the Empire's forces were in full retreat. On the Vanguard, cheers erupted as the Imperial ships began to flee. We did it, one crew member exclaimed. But Cole remained focused. The battle's not over yet. Disable the Eclipse completely. If they escape, they'll return with reinforcements. The Vanguard's railguns fired one final salvo, piercing the Eclipse's engines and leaving it adrift. Vale stood on the damaged bridge of the Eclipse, his pride shattered. The mighty Galactic Empire, undefeated for centuries, had been brought low by a species they had dismissed as insignificant. Send a message to the fleet, Vale said, his voice heavy. Retreat, the humans have won this day. As the last of the Imperial ships fled, the crew of the Vanguard erupted in celebration. Captain, the fleet is retreating, the tactical officer confirmed. Cole allowed himself a moment to relax. Well done, everyone. Earth is safe, for now. But even as the battle ended, Cole knew the war was far from over. Humanity had won a decisive victory, but the Empire would not forgive this humiliation. For now, though, The stars belong to humanity. Shadows of retribution. The wreckage of the Galactic Empire's fleet drifted silently in the void. Among the debris, the massive frame of the Eclipse floated, a grim monument to humanity's defiance. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. On board the Vanguard, Captain Adrian Cole stood at the helm, his gaze fixed on the distant stars. Victory had come at a cost, and the captain knew that the Empire's wrath would soon follow. "Status report," Cole ordered. "Shield generators are back to 60%, and weapon systems are operational," the tactical officer replied. "But the engines, they're barely holding together." "We'll need repairs," Cole muttered. "And fast." Rachel Monroe, leader of the Raptor Squadron, entered the bridge, her flight suit smeared with battle scars. "Captain," Rachel began, "the Imperials might be down for now. But they're not out. We intercepted a distress signal from the Eclipse before it went silent. Reinforcements are coming." Cole's jaw tightened. "How much time do we have?" Rachel hesitated. "Days, maybe hours." The signal was scrambled, but knowing the Empire, they won't wait long to strike back. Back on Earth, General Marcus and Chief Engineer Ilara Khan monitored the situation from the underground command bunker. "The Vanguard won us a major victory," Marcus said. "But if the Empire retaliates before we're ready, it could all be for nothing." "We need a plan," Ilara replied, her voice tinged with urgency. "And I think I have one." She brought up a schematic on the holodisplay, a design for a stealth-based defense grid that would use the wreckage of the Imperial fleet to camouflage humanity's forces. "If we act fast, we can use their own ships against them," Ilara explained. "Create a false battlefield. Lure them into a trap." Marcus frowned. "That's a gamble, Ilara. If they see through it." "They won't," she interrupted. "The Empire's arrogance is their weakness. They'll never expect us to turn their losses into our advantage." On the Eclipse, Supreme Commander Vale surveyed the damage to his once mighty flagship. The humiliation of defeat weighed heavily on him, but his resolve remained unbroken. "Send a priority message to the Imperial High Command," Vale growled. "Inform them of our loss. Request immediate reinforcements." One of his officers hesitated. "Commander, the fleet, it's in disarray. Our remaining forces may not survive another engagement." Val's eyes burned with fury. "Then we die with honor. But humanity will not escape the Empire's vengeance." As the Vanguard limped toward Earth's orbit, Rachel joined Cole on the bridge. "You look like you've seen a ghost," Rachel said, leaning against the console. Cole shook his head. "Just thinking about what's next. We bought ourselves time, but it's not enough. The Empire will come back stronger." Rachel smirked. "Good. Let them. We're ready." "Are we?" Cole asked. "We barely survived this battle. If reinforcements arrive before we can regroup." "Then we'll find a way," Rachel interrupted. "We always do." In orbit, Earth's defense grid sprang to life as Ilara's plan took shape. The wreckage of Imperial ships was carefully repositioned, forming a false front to mislead incoming enemies. Hidden among the debris, human vessels armed with experimental cloaking technology prepared for the next engagement. "It's not perfect," Ilara admitted to Marcus as they oversaw the operation. "But it's the best chance we've got." Marcus nodded. "Then let's hope it works. Because if it doesn't, humanity won't get a second chance." Meanwhile, aboard the Eclipse, Vel's call for reinforcements had been answered. The Imperial High Command dispatched a second fleet, led by Admiral Xarin, a strategist known for his ruthlessness. As the reinforcements arrived, Vale briefed Xarin on the humans' tactics. "They are resourceful," Vale admitted grudgingly, "and their technology is far more advanced than we anticipated." Xarin sneered. "They are insects. They got lucky, nothing more. This time, we crushed them completely." The stage was set for the next battle. Humanity had pulled off a miraculous victory, but their survival depended on outsmarting an enemy that vastly outnumbered them. As the Vanguard entered Earth's defensive perimeter, Cole looked at the holographic display of the approaching Imperial fleet. "All hands, prepare for combat," Cole announced. "This isn't over yet." Rachel stood by his side, a defiant grin on her face. "Let's show them what humans are really capable of." Humanity's last stand. The Imperial fleet emerged from hyperspace like a tidal wave of destruction. Dozens of warships surrounded Earth, their massive forms blotting out the stars. At their center, the Eclipse, battered but operational, served as a grim reminder of the Galactic Empire's power. Supreme Commander Vale stood on the bridge of his flagship, his eyes fixed on the blue planet below. This was no longer a battle for conquest. It was personal. "Target Earth's surface defenses," Vale ordered. "We'll wipe their defiance from existence." Admiral Xarin, stationed on his command ship, sneered. "Let them scramble. Let them cling to hope. Today, humanity burns." On board the Vanguard, Captain Adrian Cole observed the looming fleet. The scale of the enemy force was staggering, but his crew stood ready, their determination unshaken. "Defensive grid status?" Cole asked. Ilara Khan's voice crackled over the comm. "The grid is online, and the debris field is in place. The cloaked ships are hidden and awaiting your signal." "Good," Cole replied. "Let's give them the fight of their lives." Rachel Monroe, her fighter squadron already prepped for launch, joined Cole on the bridge. "Think this plan will work?" she asked. "It has to," Cole said simply. The battle began with the Empire firing a barrage of plasma missiles toward Earth. The human defensive grid sprang to life, intercepting most of the missiles before they could hit their targets. But the sheer number of projectiles overwhelmed the system. From the debris field, hidden human ships activated their cloaking devices, slipping into the Imperial fleet unnoticed. Their mission? Sow chaos from within. Ilara monitored the operation from the command bunker. Her hand shook as she coordinated the covered strikes. "Strike teams, target their shield generators and weapons arrays," she ordered. "Keep moving. Don't give them a chance to regroup." As explosions erupted within the Imperial ranks, Vel's composure faltered. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. Admiral Xarin's scowl deepened. "They're using the wreckage to their advantage. Clever, but futile. Deploy our advanced scouts to sweep the field." But before Xarin's forces could react, Rachel's squadron of fighters swooped in, delivering precision strikes to key Imperial ships. Their speed and maneuverability made them nearly impossible to hit. "Nice shooting, team," Rachel called over the comms. "Let's keep them guessing." Meanwhile, Cole led the Vanguard straight into the heart of the Imperial fleet. The ship's experimental shielding absorbed hit after hit, giving it the appearance of an unstoppable juggernaut. "All weapons, fire at will," Cole ordered. The Vanguard unleashed a devastating salvo, tearing through Imperial ships and creating chaos in their ranks. On the Eclipse, Val's frustration turned to desperation. He turned to Xarin. "We're losing control of the battlefield," Vale admitted. Xarin's face twisted in anger. "Then it's time we show them the full might of the Empire." He signaled to his flagship's crew. "Activate the annihilator beam," Xarin commanded. The Eclipse began to charge its most devastating weapon, a beam capable of obliterating entire planets. On Earth, Ilara's sensors picked up the energy spike. "They're powering up a planet killer," she shouted. Cole's voice came over the comm. "Ilara, is there anything we can do?" "Maybe," Ilara replied, her mind racing. "If we can overload their power cores from within, we might destabilize the beam before it fires." Cole didn't hesitate. "Send the coordinates to our cloaked teams. We'll keep them distracted." As the Eclipse prepared to fire, the cloaked human ships launched a daring assault on its power cores. The operation was perilous, with several teams lost in the process, but their efforts paid off. The Eclipse shuddered violently as its power cores overloaded. The annihilator beam short-circuited, releasing a massive energy surge that disabled nearby Imperial ships. Vale stared at the chaos around him, disbelief etched across his face. This can't be happening," he whispered. On board the Vanguard, Cole allowed himself a small smile. "We've got them on the ropes," he said. "All ships, focus fire on the remaining vessels. Let's finish this." With the Imperial fleet in disarray, humanity launched a final, coordinated strike. The tide of the battle turned decisively in their favor. As the last of the Imperial ships retreated, Vale issued a bitter command. "Fall back. This battle is lost." Zarin protested. "We can still." "Enough," Vale snapped. "We underestimated them, and we've paid the price. Let us live to fight another day." Cheers erupted across Earth as the Imperial fleet fled. Humanity had not only survived, but delivered a crushing blow to the mighty Galactic Empire. In the aftermath, Cole stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, gazing at the stars. "This isn't the end," Rachel said, joining him. "No," Cole agreed, "but it's a new beginning. For us, for humanity." Ilara's voice came over the comm. "Captain, you might want to see this." A holographic transmission appeared, showing Val's solemn face. "This isn't over, humans," Vale warned. "The Empire will remember this day, and we will return." Cole clenched his fists. "Let them. We'll be ready."